When I found that positive pregnancy test in the trash, I had no idea it was the beginning of the end of everything I believed in. My life in Seattle seemed perfect. I'm Patrick, working as an accountant at a mid-sized company, and Eva was doing coaching work, helping people fix their relationships and find happiness. We lived in a cozy house together with our cat Charlie, a large orange tabby who had been with us for 3 years. We hadn't gotten around to officially getting married, even though we'd been living together for several years. We always told ourselves, when the children are born, then we'll make it official. I dreamed of a big family, 3, maybe even 4 little ones running around our house. That test I found by accident when I was taking out the trash on a regular Tuesday evening. My heart was pounding with joy. I was already imagining how I'd tell my parents, how we'd pick out a crib together, what color we'd paint the nursery. Would it be a boy or a girl? Would they have Eva's smile or my eyes? These thoughts filled my head as I walked back into the house, the test carefully wrapped in a paper towel in my pocket. That evening I approached Eva with a huge smile on my face. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone as usual, her laptop open beside her with what looked like client notes. "Honey, I found the test. Why didn't you tell me?" I said, unable to contain my excitement. Her face first went white, then red. The phone nearly slipped from her hands. "Patrick, it was a false positive result. I got checked, there's nothing there," she said, her voice tight and controlled. Something in her voice alarmed me. Too quick an answer. Too nervous a reaction. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine, and her fingers were fidgeting with the edge of her sweater. But I wanted to believe her. God, how much I wanted to believe her. So I pushed the doubt down, buried it deep, and nodded. "Oh, okay. Well, when it happens for real, it'll be amazing," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, when the time is right." The following weeks I began to notice small things. Eva was constantly on her phone, smiling at the screen with a softness I hadn't seen directed at me in months. When I approached, she'd quickly hide it or switch apps. At night, she often went out on the balcony to get some fresh air, even when it was raining. Charlie, our cat, once hissed at her purse. He'd never behaved like that before. When I mentioned it, Eva laughed it off, saying he was probably smelling another animal. I tried to rationalize everything. She's busy with clients. She's stressed about her business. I'm being paranoid. But the nagging feeling wouldn't go away. It grew stronger with each passing day, like a shadow that lengthened as the sun set on our relationship. One day, when Eva went to a training seminar that would last all weekend, I couldn't take it anymore. Her old tablet was lying at home, and she'd forgotten to log out of her messenger. My hands shook as I picked it up. Part of me screamed not to look, to trust her, to be the good partner. But a louder part, the part that had found that pregnancy test, needed to know the truth. What I saw there turned my world upside down. Messages with a man named Roy. Months of correspondence. Intimate photos that made my stomach turn. Plans for meetings at hotels, at his place, even discussions about meeting up while I was supposedly at work. And the most terrible thing, messages about pregnancy. "Roy, I don't know what to do. Patrick must never find out about this." I made an appointment for next week. My hands were trembling as I read further. They had met on a dating site a year ago. A whole year. All this time I felt like the ground was falling away beneath my feet. Every anniversary we'd celebrated, every "I love you" she'd said, every morning we'd woken up together. All of it was built on lies. But the worst was another message, dated 2 weeks earlier. "Roy, I had complications after the procedure. The doctor said I won't be able to have children now. I can't tell Patrick. He dreams so much about a big family." The next message made me go cold. Honestly, I'm relieved. I never wanted children with him. Only with you, Roy. I love you. I understood then, she had never loved me. All these years. All the promises. All the plans we made together were just, what? Convenience? A safety net while she searched for something better? The next few days I lived in a fog. I pretended everything was fine, going through the motions of our daily routine. I made coffee in the morning, kissed her goodbye when she left for client meetings, made dinner, watched TV beside her while she texted with him. Each moment was torture, but I had made a decision. I needed evidence. Not just correspondence that she could delete or claim was fake. I hired a private investigator named Marcus, an experienced man with gray hair, sharp eyes, and a firm handshake who had seen it all in his 25 years of investigative work. We met at a small coffee shop far from our neighborhood, where I laid out everything I knew. He listened without judgment, taking notes in a small leather-bound notebook. "I've seen cases like this before," Marcus said quietly. "The hardest part isn't finding the truth, it's accepting it. Are you sure you want to go down this road? Once you know everything, you can't unknow it." "I need to know," I replied. "All of it." I also installed a GPS tracker on her car, legally, since the car was registered in my name. It felt wrong, invasive, like I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. But what choice did I have? She'd already invaded our relationship with lies and betrayal. What we discovered over 2 weeks exceeded my worst fears. Eva met with Roy 3 times a week at his apartment in downtown Seattle. The detective took photos of them hugging and kissing by the entrance, walking hand in hand through Pike Place Market, sitting close together at intimate restaurants I'd never been to. They even planned to travel to Europe together, while I thought she was going to a professional conference in Portland. Marcus also tracked down medical records. I had access because I paid for her insurance. Abortion, complications, infertility. Everything was confirmed. The clinical language of the medical reports made it somehow worse, so cold and factual about the death of all my dreams. But the most interesting thing the detective discovered was something else. Roy was married, had 2 children, a boy of 7 and a girl of 5. And he had absolutely no intention of leaving his family for Eva. In his phone conversations that Marcus managed to record, Roy was careless, talking on the street near his office. He called Eva a fun adventure and a nice distraction from the wife. When I heard that recording, sitting in Marcus's office, I felt an unexpected emotion. Not just pain for myself, but a strange, bitter pity for Eva. She destroyed our relationship, destroyed her own body, given up the possibility of having children, all for a man who saw her as nothing more than entertainment. A plan began to form in my mind. Not ordinary revenge. Something special. Something that would make both of them face the consequences of their choices. I began collecting all the evidence into a separate folder. Photographs with timestamps and GPS coordinates. Message transcripts, medical records, detective's testimony, GPS data showing every trip to his apartment. Everything organized, documented, undeniable. Then I found Roy's wife on social media. Jennifer, a sweet-looking woman with 2 beautiful children whose photos filled her feed. She posted happy family photos, pictures of school events and birthday parties, not suspecting that her husband was living a double life. In some photos, I could see the same watch Roy wore in the pictures with Eva. The same watch I'd seen in messages where he'd checked the time before sneaking away from his family. One evening I told Eva I was going on a business trip for a week. In reality, I rented a hotel room nearby. Through the detective, I learned that Eva had planned a romantic weekend with Roy in our house for this time. In our house, in the bed we'd shared for years. The audacity of it took my breath away. I waited. On Saturday evening, when they were there together, I made my move. First, I sent Jennifer the complete package of evidence about her husband's infidelity. Every photograph, every message, every detail, carefully compiled into a PDF document that told the whole story. With a short letter, "I'm very sorry to send you this. You have a right to know the truth. I'm also a victim of this situation. Our partners have been betraying us both for over a year. I thought you deserved to know who you're really married to. If you need any additional information or want to talk, I'm available. Patrick." Within an hour, Jennifer called Roy. I knew this because the detective was still monitoring. The conversation lasted 2 minutes. I could only imagine the fury, the heartbreak, the shattered trust. Then Roy flew out of our house like he'd been scalded, his car peeling out of the driveway so fast he left tire marks. The next step was the hardest. When Eve was not at home, I gathered all of Eva's belongings, carefully packed them into boxes, and put them on the porch. Every item felt heavy with memories. The sweater I'd bought her for Christmas, the books she'd collected over the years, the coffee mug she used every morning. I changed the locks on the house, the metallic click of the new deadbolt somehow final and absolute. I filed papers to terminate our domestic partnership. Even though we weren't officially married, in Washington state our relationship had legal status after living together for so long. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Rebecca, handled everything with professional efficiency. But the main thing, I created a website. Simple 1-page. Title: The Truth About Eva Morrison, Seattle Coach. On it, I posted the whole story, all the evidence, removing personal intimate details, but leaving enough to understand the scale of betrayal. I included how she had an abortion from her lover, concealed her infertility, lied for years while claiming to help others build honest, healthy relationships. And most importantly, I did SEO optimization so that this site would appear first in search results when entering her name and profession. For a coach whose reputation is everything, whose business depends entirely on trust and credibility, this was a death sentence. When Eva came home that evening, she found her belongings on the porch and my note. Locks changed. Lawyer will contact you. Roy won't come to you. He's busy saving his marriage. P.S. Google yourself. She called incessantly, texted, begged. I didn't answer. Each notification felt like another weight lifted from my shoulders. Each ignored call was a small step toward freedom. My lawyer arranged for the property division. Since the house was purchased before our relationship and registered in my name, it stayed with me. We split joint savings equally, though there wasn't much. Eva got her car and personal belongings. It was clean, fair, and final. A week later, she appeared at the house again. She looked terrible, swollen, red eyes, uncombed hair, clothes that looked like they'd been slept in. She'd been crying so much her face was puffy and blotchy. Part of me, a very small part, felt sympathy. But then I remembered the messages, the lies, the stolen future. Patrick, please talk to me. I can explain everything, she shouted from the sidewalk. I stepped out onto the porch, holding Charlie in my arms. The cat was purring calmly, content in the peace that had settled over the house since she'd left. Explain what? How you cheated for a year. How you had an abortion and hid it. How you permanently deprived us of the chance to have children. How you lied every day, looking me in the eye. My voice was calm, measured. I'd practiced this conversation in my head 100 times. I was confused. Roy promised me. She started, her voice breaking. Roy promised you? I smiled bitterly. Roy is currently begging his wife not to file for divorce. He's already lost his kids. Jennifer won't let him see them without supervision. His parents won't talk to him. He's sleeping on his brother's couch. You were entertainment for him, Eva. Just like I was a convenient option for you. No. At first I loved you, but then. She sobbed. Then you found someone on a dating app, even though you were living with me? I interrupted. You know what hurts the most? Not the cheating, but that you took away my future. I wanted children, a family, and you destroyed all of that and weren't even going to tell the truth. You were going to let me live the rest of my life not knowing, always wondering why we couldn't have kids, probably blaming myself. She cried harder, mascara running down her cheeks in black streams, but I felt only emptiness. The love I'd had for her had died the moment I read those messages. That website, Patrick, because of it I lost all my clients. My business, she pleaded. Your business was built on helping people find happiness in relationships. Ironic, isn't it? Maybe you should have started with yourself. Maybe you should have been honest instead of helping others solve problems you couldn't face in your own life. I said, delete it, please. I'll give you everything. All the money. Her desperation was palpable. I don't need your money, Eva. The site will stay. People have the right to know who they're dealing with. Would you want to take relationship advice from someone who destroyed their own relationship with lies and betrayal? Would you trust your deepest secrets to someone who kept secrets like yours? Detective Marcus turned out to be not just a professional. He became an unexpected friend during this difficult period. He'd been through a similar betrayal with his own ex-wife years ago, and he understood the particular kind of pain that comes from discovering the person you loved never really existed. Document everything, he advised me over coffee one afternoon. Keep every text she sends, every voicemail. Not because you want to hurt her more, but because people in pain sometimes make desperate accusations. Protect yourself. He was right. Eva tried several times to claim I'd been controlling, that I'd isolated her from friends, that I'd been emotionally manipulative. But every claim fell apart under the weight of evidence. Texts to friends she'd pushed away herself, social media posts showing her freedom and independence, witnesses who could testify to the truth. A month later I learned that Roy did end up divorcing Jennifer. She took the kids and filed for maximum alimony and child support. She also got the house and the better car. Roy's life fell apart in spectacular fashion. His parents, who had adored Jennifer, cut him off. His brother, who'd been letting him stay on the couch, eventually kicked him out. He ended up in a small studio apartment, seeing his kids every other weekend if Jennifer felt generous. And Eva? She tried to restore her relationship with Roy, reaching out through every channel she could find. But he blocked her everywhere. It turns out he blamed her for destroying his family, somehow convincing himself that if she hadn't existed, he wouldn't have strayed. He told mutual acquaintances that sending the evidence to his wife was Eva's doing. He never knew it was me. In his mind, she was the villain who'd ruined his perfect life. Eva had to move to her mother's place in another state, Oregon, I later learned. Her coaching practice collapsed. Who would trust their relationships to someone with such a reputation? She deleted all social media, tried to disappear from the internet, but the website remained like a digital monument to her betrayal. Every attempt to have it taken down failed. Everything I'd posted was true, documented, and therefore protected speech. For my part, I started seeing a therapist. Not to get Eva back, never in my life, but to understand how I'd missed all the signs, how I could have lived with someone who didn't love me and not known it. 6 months after leaving Eva, I sold the house. Too many memories haunted every corner. Her coffee mug in the cabinet, the space where her shoes used to be, the bedroom where we'd made plans for a future that never came. I moved to an apartment closer to downtown Seattle, a modern place with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Charlie adapted quickly to the new housing, and I adapted to a new life. The apartment was smaller, but it felt like mine in a way the house never had. I decorated it with things I liked, not compromises between two people's tastes. I bought a comfortable chair for reading. I set up a small home office where I could work in peace. I adopted a routine that was mine alone. One day Marcus messaged me. He had information about Eva. She'd tried to restart her coaching practice under a different name in Portland, working with a small holistic wellness center. Someone from her former clients recognized her and told everyone else. She had to shut everything down again. The truth, it seemed, had a way of following her. I didn't feel satisfaction from this, only a sad emptiness. This wasn't revenge for revenge's sake. It was about justice, about making sure people knew who they were dealing with, about consequences for actions. Eva had built a career on trust, on helping people navigate their most vulnerable moments, while simultaneously destroying trust in her own life. That hypocrisy deserved to be exposed. Marcus also told me that Roy had tried to contact me through various channels, wanting to talk man to man. I never responded. What would be the point? To hear him justify his actions? To listen to excuses? Some people aren't worth your time or energy. The last thing I heard about Eva, she was working as a regular manager at a small firm somewhere in California. She was using her mother's maiden name. The website still existed, but I'd long ago stopped checking the visitor statistics. It had served its purpose. The truth was out there for anyone who needed to know it. Finally, after some time I felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. Not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd gotten justice. Not because I'd hurt Eva, but because I'd protected others from being hurt the same way. And most importantly, because I'd learned to value myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't value me. The website would stay up, not as a monument to my pain, but as a warning. A reminder that actions have consequences, that trust once broken is nearly impossible to rebuild, and that people who help others should be held to the standards they preach. But for me, the story was over. I'd closed that chapter and started a new one. One filled with honesty, genuine love, and the promise of the family I'd always wanted. Just with someone who actually deserved to build it with me. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.